Throughout the last year of the project, as Jim was trying to finish some things up, we came up with something that could barely pass as a fight scene between Garvik and Chang. We got a couple of scenes of them getting each other in some headlocks and pushing each other around, but we had problems. We got there late in the day and the sun was going down, so we only had a certain amount of time to film, and that was always one part of the film that we thought, in order to really feel like we succeeded at this film, we wanted to beef it up.
So we looked at a few different Star Trek episodes, and there ended up being a really good fight scene in the episode The Space Seed between Khan and Kirk. That fight scene was shot in the engineering room on the Enterprise, which is a confined space, even though it's a pretty large space. So for shooting it outdoors, we had to find a terrain that had some of the same sort of features that they had in that fight scene. There's a part in that fight scene where Kirk grabs a mesh cage and pulls himself up to do the leg hold on Khan, and in order for us to do that, we had to find an area where there was a tree that Garvik could grab on and do the same move. Garvik, or actually Kirk, gets thrown across the room, and he ducks out from under Khan and does his double-fisted karate chops to the back. And we couldn't find a space that really had a convenient location to do all those moves all in the same space. So what we had to do was do some skillful editing and film the scenes in different locations, and then piece it all together afterwards to make it look like it all flowed together and it was all done in generally the same area. Now we are about 300-400 yards down the trail from where the rest of the fight scene was shot. In the original fight scene between Kirk and Khan, there is the engineering console, the big wall console on the side of the engineering bay, and Kirk and Khan fight over there, and that's what the rocks are substituting for. That last hit that Jim was going to do.
I couldn't decide where to put it.
How hard can I hit you like that? Is that okay, just like that?
Yeah, that's fine, because that way you can see the flesh making contact. It's not like... Yeah.
Well, it was kind of tricky finding a fight scene location that looked the same as the location in Minnesota, because the trees and stuff in Texas don't look the same as the trees in Minnesota. Not only that, but in our fight scene in Minnesota, it was fall, and the trees had all turned yellow. And trees don't turn yellow for very long in Texas. They're either green or bare. A lot of times they're evergreen, and so they never turn yellow. Then we had to try to find a place that looked like the same type of terrain, and that was a little bit difficult too. We tried to match up this rocky hill that our original Minnesota footage of Garvik and Chang was shot on, and find another rocky hill similar to that, so we could kind of tie the two pieces together using that hill. And we were able to find kind of a hill, and I'm standing on it right now, but not much of the other terrain around here looked at all like our Minnesota footage. So what we did was, in the very first shot of the Texas fight scene, Garvik kicked Chang down the hill, and he went tumbling down there into the bushes. That was how we transitioned from the Minnesota scene, kick him down the hill that we already had from Minnesota and into Texas. And it's kind of steep and slippery, so it was kind of a trick, and Garvik had to wear combat boots in this scene, so if you look close, he doesn't really have his Starfleet regulation boots on. But at the end of that fight scene, we had to transition back from Texas back up to Minnesota. So what happened then was Garvik came running up this hill, Chang following after him, and knocked the phaser back up on top of the hill, and the two fighters then scrambled up the hill, both trying to get the phaser first. And that's how we got from Texas back up into Minnesota. There was no way we were going to get Clint, Nathan Wolf from Minnesota, to come down and shoot some of those pickup shots. So we decided that we would just find somebody else to fill in as kind of a stunt double for Chang. And the guy we got was Churchill. Trey's a little bit skinnier and a little bit taller than the other guy who played Chang. So we had to make sure in shooting those scenes that we would use angles mostly where you didn't see his face straight on. We did a number of rehearsals before we were actually ready to do some of the flips and falls and stuff like that. But It turned out pretty good.
Fight, Gervik! Come get some! Come get some!
When he put it all in the final film, I didn't see it until the film was released online. And when I saw it, I was really happy with it and really impressed. And I just thought that it gave the ending of the movie that punch that it needed. You know, at the end of the movie, Bafuzalek and Gervik are the heroes. You know, Bafuzalek, by knocking the gun out of Chang's hand, he saves Gervik's life, and then he has to go off and fight these two bad guys and finish them off. And then Gervik has to take on Chang. And so you have these two heroic battles going on where our two heroes have to fight it out. And by adding that fight scene in for Gervik, as Gervik was really the hero of the whole show, you know, it made sense that he would have this heroic battle that would really show off him and his heroics.